Ariela LaLangosta wasn't just another pretty face blowing kisses at the camera for likes. Nah, she was something else entirely. If you were even slightly tapped into New York's nightlife scene, you'd heard her name. Maybe you'd seen her dancing behind the bar at Icon or Starlets, flashing that infectious smile that made you forget whatever drama you walked in with. She wasn't chasing clout. Clout chased her. Over 500,000 Instagram followers, 115K on TikTok, but none of that really captured the way she moved through rooms. She was magnetic. Real ones felt it. And now she's gone, shot dead in her car on the Cross County Parkway. August 17th, 2025, a date now burned into the mind of everyone even remotely tied to hip-hop influencer circles or the messy intersections where those two worlds collide. Word started spreading early that morning. A body had been found slumped behind the wheel of a Mercedes G-Wagon. It didn't take long for the streets to connect the dots. It was Ariela. And the moment her name dropped, so did everyone's jaws. Because here's the thing, this wasn't random. Almost immediately, all eyes turned to one man, Tekashi 6ix9ine, the same dude who's made a career out of being the loudest, most unpredictable, and most controversial voice in the game. And according to street gossip, Ariela wasn't just some acquaintance. Depending on who you ask, she was either his girl, his sister, or something in between. But make no mistake, they were close. She wasn't a stranger to his world, and she wasn't just another name in his contact list. She was part of that inner orbit. Now imagine this. You're already one of the most hated figures in rap. You've been labeled a snitch, a sellout, a liability, your face is a magnet for smoke, and everyone from gangbangers to bloggers has you in their crosshairs. Now, out of nowhere, someone from your circle ends up dead under suspicious circumstances. People don't ask questions, they assume answers, and the assumption that Tekashi's drama might have followed Ariela and cost her everything. But this story gets deeper than just street gossip. Let's rewind just a bit to paint the full picture. Ariela had just been living her regular life the night before. August 16th, she was at Icon, New York, the very place she used to work. Her IG was full of her usual energy, dancing, smiling, having fun. If you looked at her stories that night, there's no way you'd think that less than 12 hours later, she'd be the centerpiece of a murder investigation. That's what hits different, the way joy turned into tragedy overnight. But what really made this go viral wasn't just the tragedy, it was the speculation. Everyone started digging. McNeil did fans, trolls, even blogs trying to go viral. People brought up old footage of 6ix9ine being interviewed, casually talking about what makes someone a snitch. Clips resurfaced of him laughing off the idea that he'd throw anyone under the bus to save himself. And then, almost prophetically, the quote that made the rounds: "A snitch will give up their whole camp just to be free." Suddenly, Ariela's death wasn't just sad, it felt calculated. Some saw it as a warning, others as collateral damage. But nearly all the noise pointed back to 6ix9ine, his past, and the people gunning for him. Whether they got tired of waiting or just wanted to hurt him in a way that the system couldn't, nobody really knows. But one thing's clear, Ariela got caught in the middle of something she probably never signed up for, and now everyone's left asking, was she the target, the message, or just another casualty in a game she couldn't escape? Detectives started piecing together the scene just after sunrise. The G-Wagon was parked awkwardly on the shoulder, hazard lights still blinking. Ariela was slumped in the driver's seat, one hand clutching her phone, the screen frozen on what looked like a DM thread. Shot once, point blank. No signs of a struggle, no skid marks, no chase. Just one clean hit and gone. That kind of precision doesn't scream random, it screams message. But who was the message for? Early whispers pointed to someone else entirely, a name the streets knew well but the mainstream hadn't caught up to yet. Nata Cardier. Not a rapper, not a public figure. More like a ghost who popped up in arrest records and quietly ran behind the scenes plays. Allegedly, he was Ariela's real boyfriend, and if the reports are to be believed, he wasn't just connected, he was deep in it. Robbery operations, ties to Dominican gangs, and a known history of beef with Colombian crews. According to insider chatter, Ariela had helped him line up some high-risk plays setups disguised as hookups, deals gone sideways. One in particular stood out. Supposedly, she connected him with a Colombian link, and that deal ended with the Colombians getting cleaned out. Word was they'd been hunting for whoever set them up. If that story holds, then Ariela wasn't just collateral, she was the key piece in a payback puzzle. There's another twist. Some witnesses claim Nata was actually in the car with her when it all went down. Somehow he walked away untouched, no injuries, no bullet holes on his side. That alone raises more questions than answers. If it was a drive-by, how did he dodge it clean? If it was an inside job, did he see it coming? Or worse, was he in on it? Cops brought him in for questioning within hours, but what came out of that session hasn't been made public. No charges, no mugshot, just silence. And that silence is where the speculation thrives. You don't need a detective badge to connect the dots. If Ariela was caught between two dangerous men, one with federal beefs and one with street enemies, it's not a question of if trouble would find her, it's which direction it would come from. And let's not forget the ghost looming over all of this, 6ix9ine in his own past. He wasn't in New York. Legally, he couldn't be. He was locked down under probation dealing with the fallout of his drug case in Florida. House arrest, ankle monitor, travel ban. But that didn't mean he was safe. Back in February, someone sent a fake casket to his front gate with King Von's name etched on it. That kind of psychological warfare doesn't stop at the front door. People started asking, was Ariela hit because of him? Was her name on a list that didn't belong to her just because of who she stood next to in a music video once, or who she shared a bottle with at a lounge? Or maybe someone saw her as the last thread connecting 6ix9ine to the streets he tried so hard to escape. If you can't reach the man, sometimes you cut the rope. As Instagram tributes rolled in, from bartenders, club promoters, fans, and influencers, one post stood out at 6ix9ine called her his sister and said she was one of the few people who showed him real loyalty. But loyalty cuts both ways, and when your name's wrapped up in as much fire as his, sometimes even the loyal ones get burned. The streets stayed loud while the cops stayed quiet. No suspects, no arrests, just more theories bubbling up with every passing hour. Blogs ran headlines with question marks, podcasts turned the case into content, and Instagram lives turned mourning into spectacle. But one thread kept tugging at everyone's curiosity. What if Ariela had her own secrets? Not just caught in someone else's crossfire, but maybe carrying some heat of her own. There's a theory floating through corners of Reddit and hip-hop Twitter that hits different. It paints Ariela not just as a victim or a pawn, but as someone who might have been moving like 6ix9ine in more ways than one. Informant chatter whispers that she may have talked to the feds about certain operations, not necessarily 6ix9ine, but Nata's. That theory got traction when old footage resurfaced of 6ix9ine explaining why he cooperated. A snitch just wants to survive, he said. They'll give up everyone just to breathe free. That line hit differently now. Was Ariela influenced by that mentality? Was she caught between staying loyal to a street code and trying to escape something bigger? The truth is, most people will never know what pressure she was under, but if she had any ties to law enforcement, even whispered ties, in those circles, that's a death sentence. Another piece that fuels the theory is her sudden shift in public presence before her death. Multiple posts were deleted from her IG in the week leading up to August 17th. Friends claimed she'd been distant, paranoid even. One close source said she told them, "I feel like someone's watching me." Combine that with the fact that she'd been spotted less frequently at her usual club spots, and it paints a picture of someone laying low. Or trying to. Meanwhile, 6ix9ine was stirring his own pot. Despite being on house arrest, he kept finding ways to stay visible, dropping bars online, throwing jabs at enemies, and continuing to push that "I'm untouchable" narrative. But that energy comes with a cost. There's a long list of names who wore that same armor before him. Nipsey, King Von, Pop Smoke, all real ones who believed in never folding, and all ended up gone. In one especially eerie interview clip, 6ix9ine coldly says, "King Von died lacking, Nip died lacking, Pop Smoke died lacking, "You can't lack." He delivered it with no emotion, like it was just math to him. But when someone close to him died, suddenly he was emotional, posting tributes, saying the streets were too evil. The contradiction had fans and haters both asking, does he really not see how this plays out? Or is he just numb to it now? Some say Ariela was targeted because someone thought she was close to him. Again, others say she was just at the wrong place with the wrong dude, or maybe she made the wrong choice, trying to outsmart a game that doesn't forgive mistakes. Whatever the truth is, it's buried beneath silence, surveillance gaps, and a code of the streets that leaves bodies behind before answers. Westchester PD and NYPD confirmed the case is being handled as a criminal homicide tied to organized activity, but weeks later, no weapon has been recovered, no suspects have gone public, and the deeper this goes, the more it looks like justice won't come through a courtroom, if it comes at all. Ariela's death became more than a tragedy, it became a mirror, one that reflects the chaos of loyalty, betrayal, and the high cost of proximity to power in a world where love, fame, and danger are all part of the same story.